with my fellow book club lovers. Today we will be reviewing many important and famous names, many people who have made it into the book industry. We will be discussing their books and talking about them, mainly about the character arcs and the Freudian archetypes. That is my main interest and goal in this entire video. So let's start off with the first book. Now, this book right here, an amazing book. It's a book by Charles Bukowski, and it's a good book. I like the book because it has this firm cover. It's very firm, and it's kind of small. You can fit it in your pocket and just kind of read it on a train or public transportation of your choice. It's a really handy book also. What it talks about, I don't know, but Bukowski definitely utilizes the Joker archetype in this one. This one is really about the Joker. It's like the manifesto, I would dare to say. And it's set in a post-colonial South Africa. It's a very good book, I would say. So I would give this an 8 out of 10 rating. There could still be some improvements, but I think overall a very good book by Charles Bukowski. Very good book. Second book, this Blue Book by Charles Bukowski, one of his most famous works, the Blue Book. This one explores the opioid crisis of the 70s in America, and it really takes the entire story to a whole new level by making it from a perspective of a young white man who grows up in a very bad neighborhood, and he decides that instead of taking opioids, as it is referenced, the opioid crisis, he decides to take crack cocaine, and it's just his journey across the land. Now, I didn't like this book too much, mainly because I found that the cover is not too firm, but you can still kind of fit it into your pockets and read it on a public transport. But the main issue I have with this book is, if you look closely, you'll see that at the back of the book there is this artwork, and I think the artwork is too big. It's just too big in comparison to a Bukowski's earlier book, this one, the South African one. You see, the art here is much smaller, and here it is not. That's a bummer, because I was really excited for this book, and unfortunately, when I looked at the back cover, I was like, shit, this sucks dick. I guess, yeah. It was not a good book. I would give it a 6 out of 10 rating. This one, the Blue Book, was not that good. Now we are going to be going to the real books here, to the ones that I would say shaped the 20th century American literature and South African literature too. This is another book by Charles Bukowski. Now, as you can see, this one is a little thicker, so you cannot really take it to the public transport as you could with the previous titles. But Bukowski decided to go full Kaczynski mode here and just not include any art in the back. He just included kind of the story sum up here, and the story, I don't fucking know what the story is here, but it's a good book. I recommend it. An 8 out of 10, a solid 8 out of 10. This one is undisputably one of his most influential works. Another book by Charles Bukowski. This one, an amazing book. As you can see, now this book was, I think, really the pinnacle of his entire work, because here there is no art. There are just 2 lines. We are going full Jackson Pollock here. There are just 2 lines. There is nothing. The reader is in awe. There is nothing to look at. You just look at it and it's like, what am I supposed to feel, Bukowski? What am I supposed to do with this book? Another thing is that the book is again slim. I think after the fat book and the negative reviews the book got, I think Bukowski returned to the more slimmer versions, the ones you can take to the public transportation. So kudos for that, Bukowski. I enjoyed it. The plot of the book is set during the cocaine crisis in the 80s. When everybody was taking cocaine, some people just couldn't get their daily dose because everything was sold out. People would get up at 5 a.m. to get their local cocaine because they would know that at 10 a.m. it would be sold out. That was really the cocaine crisis. And this book is written from a perspective of a Chinese immigrant who comes to an America to open up his Wok shop, but he fails and decides to engage in the cocaine crisis by not doing cocaine. And it's from his perspective. It's very interesting. It develops some basic racial profiling that was happening in America. It really opens up many questions, and with the recent status quo, I don't think this book would make it to the markets today. I think it would be banned. So a really good book, and mainly kudos for the art in the back. The real Jason or Jackson or whatever the fuck his name was, Pollock's type of shit. Now I think if there is any book that really where Bukowski outdoes himself, it's this one. As you can notice, it's a bit thicker, which I take issue with because I cannot take this to my public transport of my choice, which my choice being a train, because it doesn't really fit into the pocket. Believe me, I tried. I even tried to fit it in my prison pocket, but that didn't work too. With the previous titles, it did. But here, Bukowski astonishes the reader by utilizing absolutely no art. There is nothing to look at. It's just empty. There is no plot. There are no Jackson Pollock lines. There is no photo of Bukowski. There is no drawing of Bukowski. This is really the work that I think changed America. After people saw this brown rectangle, I think they really understood that it's time to let the LGBT community have their rights and to finally accept gay and interracial marriages, and of course marriages between animals and people. That one was really one of the main issues of the 20th century America, mainly in the Middle East. Yeah, this one is a really influential book. I haven't read it yet, but it's a good book. 10 out of 10. Solid 10. What's next? Oh, look, it's Charles Bukowski. This Charles Bukowski. Now, here Charles Bukowski, I think he went back to his basics. As we remember, there was photos on the first book or the second one. Here, Bukowski decides to go back in time, and again, another photo of Bukowski. Great back cover. Again, Bukowski decided to go for the slimmer versions, even though it's not as slim as the previous titles. I think if you really try, you can fit this one into your pocket. And it's overall a good book. It's a good book. It deals with many issues. Here, Bukowski fully says that he doesn't believe in those interracial marriages, which of course shaped the entire history of America. This is a good book. Honestly, a good book. Solid 2 out of 10. And our another book here, another Charles Bukowski. This one, now here Bukowski decides to return to his roots and just provide text in the back, which is interesting. And there's nothing to be said about the book. It's mostly reviews of the book, which I of course don't have to read because I am a reviewer myself. I'm a literary critic myself, a self-acclaimed one. Yeah, I think as Bukowski slowly, died, this is really capturing the essence of dying. It deals with the Nietzsche's ideas. It has a mixture of Hegel there. Yeah, overall a good book, a one to think about, a solid 5 out of 10. But now this is a rare piece. This is actually given to me by Bukowski himself. This one. Now the story is that Bukowski, after dying, he there was this funeral, and he just sort of got up from his grave and said, "Man, fuck this bullshit. I haven't written my final book." And he went home, wrote this book. This book is basically a summary of his life. And after he wrote the book, he went back to the grave and died. And many people were expecting a sequel of his life, but not to disappoint or to make some argument, which I will have to redact. But I don't think we are getting a second edition. I don't want to ruin anybody's hopes, but I don't think we are getting a sequel. I think the only the fan fictions and this book, that's what will have to work with as the time goes. I think Bukowski won't be there to write another book. You know, with the current status quo, it's quite impossible. A man of his genius would feel free to write a book. Yeah, but I've read this. I was very emotional. A tear went to my eye, and I think if there is Bukowski's masterpiece, this is it. And then that book with the brown cover, that one really I think shaped the entire literary world. I don't think we would have authors such as Hemingway or Nietzsche or Carl Jung without this book. I think many of the people just read this book and were like, yeah, I want to write too, and each of them did their own thing. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. That was the review of the books. So I'm gonna grab myself a coffee and I'll be right back.